Warm greetings, everyone. On behalf of the WFOW Foundation, a think and instituted as a citizen collective, we welcome you to another session of Wednesdays of Water. Wednesdays for Water. The conversation today is on understanding these seas, insights from the world of dugongs. The objective for Wednesdays for Water is to engage the conservation with water experts, grassroots practitioners, policymakers, and youth to explore the complex issues associated with the water and possible solutions. It has expanded since then to have more activities like Fridays for Water and the Mondays Munching with Women for Water, besides organizing water workshops, walk and talks, seminars, special courses, and conference panels to continue the water conversation in various possible ways. Please visit their website www for more details. My name is Satya Banguli and I am the moderator for the session. The session Understanding These Seas and Insights for World of Dugongs is co-hosted with Sagar and I am honored to invite Dr. Jayati Chowdhury as a discussant in this session. Dugongs are more than just a marine mammal. It plays a crucial role in maintaining the balance of a seagrass ecosystem, and it's some of the most productive and carbon-rich habitat on the planet. Dugongs help maintain the health of these underwater meadows by grazing and creating space for new growth. The seagrass beds are not just important for dugongs, they support fish and protect the coastlines and store carbon, making them essential for the marine biodiversity and animal resilience. Today's session will show how important is conservation, technology, and community engagement are in protecting these species. The speakers of the session, I invite the speaker, Chinmaya. Chinmaya is an ecologist in the field of marine biology with a focus of multidisciplinary approach to biodiversity conservation. She is particularly interested in the intersection of research and policy, specifically regarding conservation measures for the marine animals and their habitat. Here, her doctoral research focuses on ecology of seagrass associated fishes and conservation perspective of seagrass ecosystem, Palk Bay and Ghanekar. This research also provided the opportunity to work with CAMPA initiative aimed at that. To Dugong. Currently, she works as a faculty in Wildlife Institute of India with a focus on marine mammals, their habitat and conservation. Recovery of dugongs and their habitat in India. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Nitya, for that lovely introduction. May I share my presentation, please? Yeah. Is it visible?
Yes, it is visible. Please go ahead.
Okay. So, hello all, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity Wednesday for Waters has given me to do my favorite thing, talk about seagrasses and dugongs. I'm Chinmaya, and I have been working on seagrasses and dugongs for last around 7 years. So, I'll be taking you through this green world of dugongs, and as the title suggests, we are talking about world of dugongs, and no world is complete without a home. So we will start with the home of dugongs called seagrasses. I'm not sure how many of you have already seen seagrasses or heard about them, but they look kind of like the land grasses only, how we have grasslands outside, similar to that. Some species similar to that, and they are true flowering plants. They flower, they fruit, they have true roots, etc. And they have very, very important role in our ecosystem. When we talk about marine ecosystems, we always think of mangroves or corals or algae in some areas. But seagrasses are not that known, but they provide a lot of ecosystem services for everyone. That includes enhancing sedimentation. So what happens is the seagrass provides a lot of space, and the leaves and the root trap the sediment, and the water becomes clearer. It also provides space for a lot of marine organisms, one of which we already talked about is dugongs, and there are many other species like green turtles, fishes, crabs, prawns, etc. A lot of people get really confused about what are sea algae seaweeds, which are very popular nowadays with Korean food blast, but they are not seagrasses. They're completely different. So if you can see on the left side that they are algae, they kind of look like they have leaves, but they are not true leaves. And the portion attached to the rock, if you can see, it's called a holdfast. It's not a root, true root. It cannot penetrate inside, it just attaches over a surface. But in case of seagrasses, it has true leaves, true flower, true roots. So they're completely different in their physiology, their structures, everything. So they also perform different functions underwater. I just would like to take you through how the seagrass world looks like, and I'll give you probably 10 seconds to see if there is any fish in this. I unfortunately can't hear you, but if you can find a fish, and it's not small one, it's like a hint, it's not a small fish. I hope someone has found it and it's here. It's a big grouper. When I spotted it, I was actually doing my work underwater and I just saw a eye and I got so scared because there was just an eye in between all these green grasses. This grouper was around 30 centimeter big, so it wasn't a small fish, a foot long fish, which was just hiding there, not moving at all. At that time I actually realized the potential of these seagrasses, where on the surface we can only see leaves and probably some fishes going over it, but beneath or in between the leaves there is a world which is still remaining to be explored. So we will talk about that today. So these are all these videos and photos are from the study I have done in Palk Bay and Gulf of Mannar. So if you can see, there are small fishes just going around the edges of seagrasses. Many of them are either really small, many of them are actually kind of camouflaging with the meadow. So this all properties of fishes and seagrasses, they make seagrasses such amazing habitat for these smaller fishes, foraging ground, for refuge as hiding, foraging ground because seagrass has a lot of small things to feed upon, like smaller algae, smaller prawns, smaller crabs, etc. And there is a nursery habitat provision, which we will talk about in detail in a little bit. So, because of the lot of diversity which is associated with seagrasses, they become also very important fishing zone for a lot of small scale community, because seagrasses are there very near to the shore. They want sheltered areas. They do not grow where sunlight doesn't reach because they are true plants. They need photosynthesis, so they do not grow where the sunlight does not have. So it's all coastal area, and it is very accessible for the people living on the coast. So it is also very important fishery ground. And as you can see in this photo, if you see, the complexity of seagrass meadow is a very important factor for the fishes or the organisms which are associated with. So on the left side, the meadow is a little less complex, and on the more right hand side, the meadow is a more complex, more tall, more leaves are there, more spaces in between. So all of these things matter to all the organisms that live in, and hence they matter to us because we are feeding on those organisms like those fishes and crabs. So when it comes to India, there are 15. about 15 seagrass species, and very recently a new seagrass species was discovered from Chilika Lake by Satyabama University people. And it's a very interesting thing, because we were just thinking that there are only few species, and now it actually opens up a probability that okay, there might be many more species in our waters. And as I already said, that this is a very important fishery ground. So, coming back to the nursery hypothesis, so this nursery is not plant nursery. This is a nursery where kids go and they have kind of fun, they have very safe space to grow in, and that's what exactly the seagrasses do for our fishes. So, what happens is that we all know that our fishery is very focused on corals or on those big shoals in open water, and some small scale fishery is there in mangroves. All of us know the importance of mangroves through a lot of channels and news, etc. Seagrasses fall somewhere in between. So what happens is there are big fishes in corals, and seagrasses are generally in between zones of these corals and mangroves. So the bigger fishes from the corals go to seagrasses. They breed there. They put down their eggs there. The juveniles actually hatch inside the meadows. They stay inside the meadow. So in between leaves, there is a lot of space where they can hide, they can rest, etc. And they also have a lot of food, so they get protected nicely. They grow up nicely, and then they go back to their respective habitats. This is not only true for coral reefs. This is also true for open water fishes, bigger fishes, and also some of the mangrove fishes. So it's an amazing interconnection of different habitats which is there underwater, and it's very important to understand that if one of these habitat gets affected, all of them are going to be affected very soon. So this is a very recent actually video from last week where I was diving in Palk Bay, and if you can see, there is just one seagrass leaf and one small puffer fish, probably around 6-7 centimeters in the 6 centimeter in the length. It is just resting below those leaves, and all the smaller leaves that you can see are also seagrasses. So it's just resting there. It is just trying to hide there by being steady. So this role was not explored in India as much. This role of seagrasses and this connection between fishes and seagrasses was not explored in India much. So, the project that Nitya has told about, the Campa Dugong Recovery Program, has different areas of study. Three of which are here: Gulf of Kutch, Gulf of Mannar, Palk Bay, and Andaman and Nicobar Islands, where the most charismatic species of the seagrass dugongs are there. But apart from that, the seagrass are also present in different places like Chilika Lake. It is filled with seagrasses and amazing meadows, and Lakshadweep Islands, where green turtles are absolutely feasting on seagrasses all the time. So these are very important areas when it comes to seagrasses in India. And when it comes to my study, my doctoral thesis, it was in two major areas. If you can see on the bottom of the screen, Gulf of Mannar and Palk Bay. It's in southern India. It's in Tamil Nadu. It's bordered with Sri Lanka, and it's if you can see, there is a small land patch which is Rameshwaram Dhanushkodi Island, which separates the Palk Bay and Gulf of Mannar. But when you actually look at those two areas, being even if they are very adjacent, they are very different from each other. So when it comes to Gulf of Mannar, it's an open sea, because Sri Lanka landmass does not come directly in front of the Gulf of Mannar, and it has lot. There are 21 islands, two of which are submerged already, and the islands are laced with corals, seagrasses, rocky patches, algal beds. So in the photo, if you can see, the rock, that's a big coral called colporitis, and then there is seagrasses which are just around it. So it's kind of a mosaic of habitats. And a really good part about Gulf of Mannar is it's legally protected. It's a marine national park. And when it comes to Park Bay, certain this is hardly 1 meter of depth, and it looks like a forest of seagrass. It is completely dominated by seagrass meadow. One thing is that it's sheltered by Sri Lanka because Sri Lanka comes just opposite to Palk Bay, and it's legally unprotected. Most of it is legally unprotected. So the fishery is very, very dominant in these areas. So what we did is we did two kinds of methods: manual point counts and camera point count. So we just went to the seagrass meadows. We stayed at a point, either myself or my team, or we deployed one camera and we let it record whatever fishes are there. And very interestingly, we found that the seagrass, the density of fishes, that is number of fishes in per area, was way more than non-seagrass areas. And as we already discussed about the nursery meadows, if you can see, the fishes which are known to be in open waters, they are known to be sand associated, they are known to be reef associated, they were also using seagrass meadows, is what my data suggested. And coming back to the nursery hypothesis, when we looked at only juvenile fish, which was like very smaller fish, less than 5 centimeter in length, we found there are a lot of fishes which are associated with reef, known to be associated with reef, were actually using seagrass meadows in some capacity. So, to understand how they're using the seagrass meadows while observing, we did observations of three layers in seagrasses. One was the upper canopy, which is the above part of the seagrass leaves, lower canopy, which is in between spaces of seagrass leaves, and bottom, which is near the roots. So, we found that many of the fishes, most or more than 50% of the fishes, were using the meadows in between the leaves. And this is one beautiful example from Park Bay. It's called alligator pipefish, and it's also a scheduled species. So it's under Wildlife Protection Act, and it is using the seagrass meadows for slowly moving around. And the camouflage is so beautiful that we also got confused when we looked at it. We got confused if it was a leaf or it was something was actually moving. So these kind of associations are very important to understand when it comes to fisheries, and in this case specifically in terms of alligator pipefish, it's a scheduled species, it's a threatened species by different kinds of threats. So we definitely now know that, having a photo evidence, that seagrasses are habitat for these kind of fishes, and they should be conserved because it provides a good shelter for all of these species. So this is kind of a gist of what I did in Gulf of Mannar and Park Bay, which had a lot bigger conservation implications in fisheries management. Because what was happening was seagrasses were not actually identified as fishery grounds for many of the fishes. Many of the fishing was actually focused on corals and open waters. So my study actually highlighted that okay, seagrass meadows can be also fishery grounds, and this is the first kind of study from India. Before that, there was a lady. Lena Nordland, she published a paper on seagrass fisheries in 2017, and that was the first kind of paper that came out from all across the world where seagrasses were actually given the status of fishery meadow as they require. And this study kind of complements that, and I'm very happy about it. And the second thing is, we also understood that the nursery role of seagrass meadow was so important, because if the seagrasses are getting fished, that means we are fishing smaller fishes, and we are not giving them time to actually grow up and become the size of desirable feeding. So we need to actually understand which fishes are feeding, which fishes are breeding in seagrasses when, and kind of have such kind of policies like ban or some restrictions on nets and gears. So we are working on that, and that's where my interest in policy actually comes in handy. Coming back to the most charismatic species of seagrasses, we have dugong, which looks something like this. This is an illustration by one of our colleagues, Babesh Tripura, and they are called keystone species. They are umbrella species and flagship species for seagrasses. So my next speaker, Mr. Sagar Rajpurkar, will emphasize on these points more. But when it's called keystone species, that means if dugongs are not there in seagrass meadows, if they are removed from the seagrass meadows will suffer in one or the other way. And how? Because they crop the seagrasses and make them healthier, give them space and oxygen to grow more. Umbrella species, because one, if we are trying to conserve dugong, there are many other things that will get conserved, like pipe fishes and seahorses and green turtles. And it's also a flagship species because it is a flag bearer of conservation in many of the areas like Gulf of Mannar and Dugong Conservation Reserve. And they feed on seagrasses, different types of seagrasses, but they really like the seagrasses which are tender and do not have a lot of fiber and smaller in size, easy to digest, because they do not have many teeth. They have hardly 4 to 6 teeth in the jaw, so it's very difficult for them to actually crunch on the seagrasses. So they have a muzzle, which you can see here, and that muzzle creates these feeding trails. So by looking at these feeding trails, we can actually identify if there are dugongs using that seagrasses or not. So there are many associations of dugongs and seagrasses that we are looking through this Campa Dugong project, and you can see all the updates on all our social media handles, Dugongs Forever, and also the WII channel. One thing I want to kind of put through as an advertisement, that we started World Dugong Day in 2020. It was decided 28th May because India signed a signatory to conserve dugongs with the conservation of migratory species on that day in 2013, and now the whole world celebrates that day as Dugong Day, which we are very proud of, and we keep looking forward to the whole year. So, thank you so much for letting me talk to you regarding this, and I'm open to questions whenever the time comes. Thank you so much.
You are on mute also, huh? Please take it.
Sagar, thank you, Chinmaya. We invite Sagar. Sagar is a marine biologist working in principal project associate at Biodiversity Series. He works under Palk-funded Dugong recovery project. His doctoral research focuses on ecology and conservation of dugongs in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. His work involves using lightweight aerial drones for insights on dugong behavior, integrating cutting-edge technologies, including artificial intelligence and computer vision with dugong conservation.
Thank you for the introduction. I will share my screen. Is it visible?
Not yet, coming.
Okay.
Yes, please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the introduction. So yeah, today I'll be talking more about the dugongs. As Chinmaya just explained more about the seagrasses, the habitats the majestic dugongs live in. So I'll be talking more about what exactly dugongs are, where they are found, and a bit about their biology and how the ongoing dugong research is happening. So dugongs, also known as dugong, are marine mammals that have inspired the stories of mermaids. They are long-lived species with a lifespan of about 70 years, and they grow up to be quite large. An adult dugong can reach up to 4 meters and can weigh up to 400 kgs. They mature really late, so the sexual maturity is reached at the age of 10 to 17 years. Globally, they are found ranging from the east coast of Africa, the Persian Gulf, India, Sri Lanka, Southeast Asia, all the way to Australia. So Australia and the Persian Gulf are the places the largest population of dugongs is. In India, as Chinmaya mentioned, they're found in Gulf of Mannar and Palk Bay in the state of Tamil Nadu, across Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and in Gulf of Kutch in Gujarat. So they show very strong parental care. They feed exclusively on seagrasses. So they are the only marine mega herbivores, like marine mammals that are completely herbivorous. And they are found in shallow coastal waters. The closest relative of the dugong is the manatee, which is also called as a sea cow, but the distribution is usually in North and South America. Uh, and the closest land relative of the dugong is the elephant. So a dugong has to surface every 5 to 6 minutes to breathe, and then they feed exclusively on seagrasses, needing up to 30 kgs of seagrasses to feed on per day. But then dugongs globally are threatened. So what are the major threats? The threats include accidental net entanglement, wherein dugongs tend to get entangled, not as an intentional catch, but are entangled, and as they are marine mammals, they have to surface to breathe. So they kind of they get entangled in nets, and as they are not able to breathe, they actually panic, and which causes mortality. Habitat degradation is one of the major factors, as Chinmaya spoke, you know, e- extensively on seagrasses. But seagrasses are also one of the most threatened marine habitats, and we are losing a lot of seagrasses per day. And as they feed exclusively on seagrasses and with a lot of anthropogenic pressures like pollution, so habitat loss and habitat degradation becomes a major threat for dugongs. There is poaching and hunting in certain parts of the world, including certain parts of India, which has been a threat. But yeah, with increased awareness that is on a reduce on which is reducing. And then another major threat is propeller cuts, wherein as dugongs are found in shallow coastal waters, so they are at a risk of having propeller cuts. So propellers are basically the blades of motorboats or like usually marine vessels. And as they surface and come closer to the shore, to closer to the surface of the water to breathe, they are usually susceptible to getting propeller cuts. So for a species like dugongs, there are a lot of threats, as I mentioned. Talking about the Indian scenario, we have dugongs distributed in three different pockets. So the first population is in Gulf of Kutch, which has a coastline of about 120 kilometers, and the population is very low. So again, the population here, what is mentioned, is based on interview surveys, as dugongs are very elusive and rare. There have been no robust estimates of the species till now. So the population is believed to be very low in Gulf of Kutch with 10 to 15 individuals, and there have been very few evidences of the species from the region. The highest population of dugongs in India is in the state of Tamil Nadu, where you have dugongs in Palk Bay and Gulf of Mannar, where the population is estimated to about 75 to 150 individuals. And we have the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, wherein the population is about 20 to 25 individuals according to the previous estimates. If you see, all the populations of dugongs are isolated and they are in pockets with no direct connectivity. So this makes it even more challenging. Like when you compare the population with countries like Australia, where the population is in lakhs, around 1.5 to 1.6 lakh is of dugongs is what is estimated out of Indian waters. The Indian population is very small, so that makes it even more challenging to study a species that is found in such a large area, but with so less population, such less densities. So whenever we want to study any kind of marine megafauna or marine mammal, there are three main techniques that we use. So the first is the boat-based surveys, wherein researchers go out on boats, usually armed with a binocular and a GPS, and they try to scan the habitat, wherein they try to detect the animal. So this is useful in like for a lot of species like dolphins, where they are surface active and they kind of have this behavior of porpoising or jumping out, uh, through which they are easily detectable. So that is one of the most effective as well as traditional method that is used in and has been historically being used for marine megafauna studies. The second is acoustic surveys. So acoustic surveys are basically surveys based on sound, wherein the soundscape is recorded, and based on which we get to know about the presence or absence of an animal in a particular habitat. So researchers basically, deploy an instrument called as the hydrophone to actually to study the sound and record it, and later the analysis is done. And then the third, what I'll be talking more about in detail today, are aerial surveys. which can be done using a manned as well as unmanned aerial vehicle. So that can be used by an aircraft or drones. But then I'd like to draw your attention to how a sighting of a dugong looks like from field. This is a video from Tamil Nadu. So, as I said, yeah, I'll play the video again. So unlike dolphins, dugongs just come to the surface. If you can see right now, it surfaces, then you can see the back of the animal for a bit and it is gone. So this, and this is one of the best sighting that you can get when you go out on a boat. Another thing is when you go out using a boat, the dugong or the animal actually perceives the boat as a threat. So that makes it even difficult, for researchers to actually go and study an animal like that, which is another reason why it has been very challenging to study a species like the dugong. And that is why the population estimation, what we had in India previously, is based on interview surveys, which is rather than an estimate, is more of a guesstimate based on how many people have seen dugongs in a particular area, by just the means of social surveys alone, they have tried to estimate what could be the population without direct evidence. So with this, we decided to see how dugong research is done globally. So in developed countries, especially like Australia, what they have is manned aerial surveys using aircrafts. So this started in the late 1950s, in the late 1950s, wherein aircrafts were modified as a tool for marine mammal research, wherein you had researchers on board trying to scan the entire area to get sightings. And as I already said, like Australia had one of the greatest population. So it was a very effective study that was undertaken in Australia, and they have been doing it ever since, wherein they use these aircrafts to actually estimate the population and understand more insights about dugongs. But then in India, given the difficulties of especially the budgets and the permits, it was very difficult to actually do it. But then with the emergence of drone technologies in 2019, we decided to try small, lightweight aerial drones just to see if we were able to, detect dugongs. So initially in the first step of the project, we decided to carry out a lot of interview surveys by which we knew what are the dugong hotspots. There were a lot of studies done earlier in which my guide Dr. Shivkumar had defined critical dugong habitats, areas where dugongs have been frequently sighted, and based on the interpretations that we got from the community and their insights, we conducted the surveys in areas where dugongs were sighted. And in the very first aerial surveys, we were able to sight dugongs, and along with it, some other marine megafauna like zebra shark, eagle rays, and turtles. And if you see, they were all seen very close to the boundary of marine protected areas or marine national parks. So the initial study was carried out within the boundaries of Rani Jhansi as well as Mahatma Gandhi Marine National Park in South Andaman Islands. And in the very first pilot study, we found it effective. As you can see, a lot of varied species were detected during the first effort back in 2019, which was later published in the year of 2021. So we saw not only dugongs, we also got to see like mother and calf pairs. Apart from dugongs, we also saw zebra shark, which are endangered, spotted eagle rays, and a wide range of threats to habitats. Like there was some dredging going on, what are the boats and other intensities, even marine litter and things like that. So this showed that drones can be effective for studying dugongs and their habitats. So with this, we decided to standardize the protocol to undertake research. So as a part of my PhD, I started with the data collection, in which aerial surveys were carried out in critical dugong habitats. These habitats were defined based on previously known critical habitats, the interactions that we had with the fisher folks. There was based on which the dugong hotspots were identified and the surveys were undertaken. So in which we did systematic surveys wherein the drone would be programmed and it will be automated, and we would carry out fixed width strip transits wherein the drone will automatically fly from point A to point B And in a flight, it will do two transits. So the technical details of the altitude, camera angle, and the strip width are given in the slide. Again, to understand the insights of the behavior of dugongs, we decided to scan the area. And after scanning the area, we would try to sight the animal. And once the animal is sighted, we would lower down the drone to a height of 30 meters with the camera facing directly below to get the behavioral footage. So based on this behavioral footage, we try to understand the behavior of the animal. So the same kind of surveys were carried out, which resulted in the following, wherein we got the first photographic evidence of dugongs from Gulf of Kutch Marine National Park. So before this, dugongs were sighted by the local fishermen, but then there has been no photographic evidence. So, using drones actually enabled us to get the first photographic evidence from an area where the population is very small. We also carried out the surveys in Tamil Nadu, inside mainly focusing on the Dugong Conservation Reserve, which was declared recently by the Tamil Nadu government with inputs from Wildlife Institute of India. So here we got sightings of mother and calf pairs, which showed that the area is a refuge for dugongs, wherein the animals are breeding. And right now we are on the verge of systematically estimating the population based on direct evidences. We also carried out a lot of population estimation surveys in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, where we have got more than 165 sightings of dugong so far. And the population estimation of the species in the area is underway. This is a part of my PhD thesis work. And apart from the systematic surveys that were done, we got a lot of behavioral insights. So if you can see in this video, here you can see a dugong that is feeding. So what a drone does is it makes, the data accessible to us without actually disturbing the animal. So here you can see what you can see, the green things that are there are seagrasses, where the animal is actually putting its mouth inside the sediment, digging in and actually eating the seagrass right from the root. And it's causing, a plume of sediment, which is an indication that, it is feeding. And you can see that from this video. Another interesting behavior that dugongs also exhibit is the rolling, where you can see that, the animal usually rolls. And this is something it does for fun, or sometimes to get rid of parasites, or, anything that is there attached to its back. Or it can also be in a very playful way. So they have different types of rolls. So here you can see, the animal rolling. And as I already mentioned, like dugongs show a very strong parental care. Here you can see a mother and calf pair of a dugong, wherein they're swimming very close, in very close proximity. And yeah, eventually, like in this sighting, actually what I saw was the mother is actually trying to teach the calf. She is introducing her to new feeding locations. And if you can see here, it's also trying to teach it to swim upside down. So it actually gives the baby a push so that it actually, like you can see a very strong parental care, especially when you see videos like this. So what drones have done is it has given us a different, like it's like an eye in the sky, which has given us a peek into the lives of dugongs, which is earlier very difficult to get. If I was going to, if I would take a boat in an area like this, the animal would just panic and try to flee. But then with things like drones, now we can actually collect a lot of data about these animals without actually disturbing them. So with this, we have collected a total data of more than 16 hours. Actually, this is what has been analyzed so far. We have a data of around 25 hours so far that has been collected, and based on which we have a lot of insights about dugongs and their behaviors. So from whatever we have observed, especially in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, we have seen that they spend a lot of their time foraging and feeding, wherein around 70% of the entire time that they spend actually goes out to feeding. This is also because in Andamans, the seagrasses are sparse compared to, other places. So they have to travel a lot and they have to engage more in feeding. And they also show a lot of other behaviors like rolling, attempted surfacing, resting, traveling. Drones have also given a lot of other behavioral insights. Like here you can see a pair of endangered dolphins trying to fish. I'll play the video again. So there are a few fish that you can see, and then the humpback dolphins here are actually trying to, grab it, and you can see that it's a successful hunt wherein the fish is caught. So all this are the insights that were earlier difficult, for researchers to get, but right now we can understand a lot more about their behavior than what we earlier used to. And here you can see a dolphin breach. So this is also one of the displaying behavior wherein, the dolphin actually jumps in the air. And yeah, you can see the entire animal out for a bit. And dugongs don't do such things. So that is the reason why that it's even more difficult to, research on dugongs. So other few interesting sightings that I would like to add was back in 2023, while looking for dugongs in a seagrass meadow, we got the first photographic evidence of a species called as hornet eagle ray. This is a species that is critically endangered according to IUCN, and globally around the world, there are less than 50 confirmed records of the species. So it's a species which is very rare, which has not been recorded. And this was the first evidence of a live specimen from India. Before that, it was seen, unfortunately, by researchers in fish markets, where, it was a dead specimen that was accidentally caught as bycatch. So yeah, so what, drones do, or, the kind of work that I'm doing, I'm getting more insights about species which co-occur in the same habitats as dugong, which we do not have much of knowledge or information about. So here is just a video of all the, species that I was able to see. There are spotted eagle rays, there are manta rays, zebra sharks, as well as dugongs. So, the drones actually give us access to a lot of data. And with this, what actually is the biggest challenge that we face is uh, that with a lot of data that we collect, the researcher has to spend a lot of time analyzing it, because whatever I've been showing you is just, the interesting part of the sightings that we have got. But a lot of data that we collect actually is just, the endless expanse of blue waters and nothing at all in it. So, so with this, we decided to, use the data that we got with the help of one of my colleague, Glenn. We decided to make an artificial intelligence model to actually identify and, you know, to see if AI can be used to distinguish marine species based on the data that we collected, based on which we created a model using more than 60,000 frames and around 2,000 objects. So this is how the result of the model looks like. So right now, what you can see here is the AI that we have been trying to develop can not only identify, the species that is the dugong, it can create a box, showing where the animal is. And the numbers that you see changing is actually how sure the model is about it being a dugong. Same is here with other, marine species like the zebra shark, wherein even, as the elevation of the drone will increase, the model is still sure, like the artificial intelligence here can definitely identify the species. And that is something that we are looking at. We are also planning to do the same for more species that are found in dugong co-occurring habitats, as well as do a same or a similar model for boats and other threats. So with this, I'd like to conclude my talk with saying that UAVs are an effective tool, especially to monitoring marine megafauna, and they can be used in behavioral research. This is the first of its kind study from Indian waters, and we are trying to integrate artificial intelligence and computer vision techniques and develop a monitoring tool that can be used by a lot of stakeholders of the project, like state forest departments. With this, I'd like to acknowledge the entire Campa Dugong team, and I'd like to end my talk here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sagar. It was an interesting presentation. Okay, I invite Jayati, Dr. Jayati, as a discussant. She's an executive director of South Asian for Saki Waters. She holds a PhD in integrated and ecosystem-based water resource management from the Indian Institute of Forest Management, Bhopal, and Research Center of Forest Research Institute, Dehradun. Then participants could later ask questions after Jaydeep.
Thank you so much, Mansi and Nitya, for this opportunity. And I must say, wow, I think this is like one of the most engaging sessions we have had as part of Biodiversity Series. And today's especially is an important day for us. I must say that I'm quite excited that season 2 of this series has launched today. We all agree that it's a much needed initiative that takes the spotlight away from Homo sapiens sapiens and shift it to other species we share this planet with. Um, and I must say that these sessions are so refreshing because they bring ecological perspective to the forefront, something that's often missing from mainstream homocentric water discourses. So, thank you so much, Chinmaya and Sagar, for this lovely informative session. Congratulations to both of you. And now let's dive into Q&A. To begin with, I have a very basic question, but I feel it's important from monitoring and habitat protection point of view. So I have short, like 2 questions, and then I'm sure that Nitya and Mansi also have questions. And I encourage all of you to ask questions. So you can either post your questions in the chat box, or you can raise your hand and switch on your camera or audio and ask yourself. To begin with, I think any of you can answer, either like Chinmay or Sagar. So I would like to understand that see, Dugong is known to travel long stretches along the coast. So I would like to understand that how do they survive in areas where seagrass is not available, because because of coastal development and pollution and other natural and anthropogenic reasons, we don't have continuous stretch of seagrasses. So this is very important from habitat protection point of view. And so this is my first question. And also my second question is that what is your um, like I should say, what is your understanding or your recommendations when it comes to continuous monitoring of seagrasses? Because we know that we have periodical census of mangroves, but similar kind of seagrass census or surveys is not available, because we know that it is done once by MOEFSCC, but it's not periodical. So what is your recommendation regarding that, how can we do? Because especially I think Sagar, you can add, because you are working on new technologies. You are for example, you are using drone to monitor Dugong. So similarly, can we use this kind of cost-effective technologies to monitor seagrass, because it's very important not only to protect Dugong but many other vulnerable species also. Thank you.
Very interesting questions, Dr. Jayati. Thank you so much. I can't see Sagar. Is Sagar here?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to take the first question?
Yeah, sure. Like that was a very interesting question. Yeah, dugong distribution definitely is something that is, limited by seagrass presence. If you look at historic records of where dugongs were distributed, the historic data suggests that they were all across the Indian coastline. Even Lakshadweep had dugongs, where it has recently been known to be extinct. So what has happened is, like earlier, when we look at the historical time scale, the seagrasses were everywhere, and because of which even dugongs were present almost, in all shallow waters across the Indo-Pacific. But what has happened is now, as you rightly mentioned, that there are a lot of threats that are actually affecting the seagrasses that has limited the dugong distribution. And as dugongs actually, or mainly feed exclusively on seagrasses, uh, a thing like a die out of a seagrass ecosystem, or seagrass meadow can directly affect dugong populations. It is something that is seen in Australia, where it is documented, especially after a big cyclone or a storm, that when local die out of seagrasses happens, there is an increase in mortality of dugongs. Similar things have happened across my study site, especially in Nicobar Islands, wherein after the tsunami, what had happened is a lot of seagrass died, and with that, there were not many records of dugongs. But as the seagrass is recovering, now people have started, getting, or we have started getting information of dugong sightings more in Nicobar Islands as well. So yeah, I mean, it's very important to protect the seagrasses. For and so, like and seagrasses are very basic to, or very integral to dugong conservation. So wherever the seagrasses are there are the only places where the dugongs will be, as they require around 30 to 40 kgs of seagrasses to feed on per day.
To add on what Sagar said, so they're known to travel distances definitely. Physiologically, if you see a dugong, it's like rounder in shape and it has a lot of blubber. Like we have fat in our body, they have blubber. So this blubber is also storage of energy, which is there and which can be utilized for traveling long distances. But it is for Indian population, at least it is not well studied. So we don't know that how this Indian population is actually, how long it is going, or how much energy it is utilizing, etc. So we are not sure of it yet, and hopefully we can study it more in coming years. The second part of your question about seagrasses and understanding seagrasses on periodic basis, I'm so glad that there are now so many people who are working in seagrasses across the country in different places. And maybe not one institution is doing continuous effort, but the effort which is getting done by different universities like Satyabhama and Annamalai and Omkar Foundation in Tamil Nadu. In Andaman, there is ANET who is working constantly on seagrasses. WI is working. So all of our efforts put together has generated quite huge amount of data across the country, and it is also a seasonal data, so it is very useful in terms of the collation. And very fortunately, I'll also like to pitch one more thing here, that there is a seagrass conference happening very
Yeah.
soon in Chennai. So I hope that this conference will actually take forward this initiative of collating the data and having a long-term understanding of seagrasses.
Here from policy perspective, I would like to understand that do you think that because definitely there are multiple institutes, universities, and organizations who are involved in regular monitoring of seagrasses, but do you think there's a need to institutionalize this monitoring, like how it is done for mangroves? Because even seagrasses are now gaining recognition because they are also part of blue carbon ecosystems, just like your mangroves and salt marshes. But compared to mangroves, generally seagrass and salt marshes get very limited, or they are like often overlooked. So most of the time that focus remains on mangroves. So from policy point of view, do you think there's a like urgent need to institutionalize this whole service? Because I agree that a lot of work is being done, but I think it's not collated or not institutionalized. So there should be some body which should actually take care of this whole monitoring, because it's highly important, because from climate change point of view and also from biodiversity point of view, because you rightly highlighted that it's kind of nursery for not only dugong but many other important species.
Right. I have very different views on this. I mean, I agree that institutionalization is important when it comes to national level, but this institutionalization should not be onus on only one institute. It has to be a consortium of institutes who are taking this work forward. So having a common body which will take care of, say, yearly surveys or seasonal surveys, but with everybody involved, is definitely needed, I think, because a lot of us take up different aspects of seagrasses. Like people are working on taxonomy, ecology, phenology, etc., and all of this is not the expertise is spread across the country. So bringing together that expertise is more required at policy level, is what I think. It's on my personal opinion, definitely.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think there's a need to have a like proper mechanism and a platform, open platform. So I think you say, you, as you said, that you are doing this conference, and there's a lot of now things happening around seagrass. So like I'm hopeful that yeah, something concrete will come up. Thank you so much. Yeah. Uh,
Thanks.
so Mansi, I think Amit is here. Yeah, Amit has raised. Yeah, hi, Dr. Amit. Nice to see you
Hi,
here.
hi, JP. Yes, yes, it's same. It was nice to see you. And first of all, excellent Chinmaya and Sagar. Though I could not listen the full talk, but yeah, I joined. I have first, Chinmaya, thank you for mentioning the Indian Seagrass Conference, and hopefully that many of us may make it to the conference in Chennai, and hope we'll have a good time. I have a query or a very, very basic question about the seagrasses, especially when we look into the mapping or when we look into the habitat. We often see in the coastal areas, and many a times we are missing the seagrasses in the estuary part. So, just out of curiosity, is it possible that maybe in a like a young ones of the dugong or such thing, are is there any report of them entering into the estuary?
So when we look at seagrasses in estuarine systems, they're generally associated with mangroves because they need shelter. A lot of flow is kind of detrimental for smaller species specifically. They can get just washed off. So they need sheltered areas. I'm not sure if the dugongs are feeding on those seagrasses in particular, but definitely as far as our observations in Andaman and Tamil Nadu goes, there are these inlets which actually come to the sea, open sea, where at that mouth we get a lot of dugong presence. And I guess it's also true for Gujarat, that we are getting this freshwater mouths as more productive for dugong presence. So I guess there is certain correlation, but we need to dive deep in to understand what exactly it is.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Jyoti, did you
Yeah,
ask me to get into Q&A, or Nitya is doing that?
yeah. So I think Nitya also has a lot of questions.
Yes.
So and I think maybe you are also keen to ask some maybe difficult questions. And then
Yes,
I
let
also
Nitya
invite
do it.
all of you, like all our
Yes.
audience and guests here, to raise your hand if you have any question, or you can just share it in the chat box. So Nitya, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Jaiti. So I had a question to Chinmaya. In one of your research papers, it was mentioned that a gut sampling in dugongs revealed that also plastic debris in like fishing net and wood fragments, which is actually very alarming. Could you please shed some light about it, and how does that like how what is the health and habitat quality, and how that monitoring techniques come in picture?
Very interesting. Thank you for bringing that up, Nitya. So when we talk about seagrass meadows, so I talked about how sedimentation happens. So there are leaves, and then the sediments kind of get trapped in, and then it settles on the seagrass meadow. So with the sediment nowadays, with all the coastal development, all the fishing activities, cleaning activities, household waste, there are so many things that are getting into the sea. So when the sedimentation is happening, a lot of these plastic fragments, wood fragments, chipped things that are just going and settling into the meadow. So when a dugong feeds with its muzzle, and we saw the feeding trail, that it kind of clears on everything that is there. So it gets not intentionally but indirectly ingested in the stomach of dugong. Smaller particles. Nowadays we are getting way more plastic fragments in the dugong guts, and these fragments generally either come from normal plastic bags, etc. And major thing is the nets, because the fishery is now mostly going to nylon nets, and because it gives more catch, it is more durable than cotton nets, so it has almost completely shifted to nylon nets. So when the nylon also goes into the water, it tends to degrade over time. So the degradation is kind of fragmented, like the fragments of those nylon come out and then they go and settle in different habitats, and that's how that get ingested. There is also one very big problem for all the marine diversity out there is the ghost gear. So ghost gear is something which is just thrown in water when it is either not in use anymore or it is completely degraded. So it's just thrown in water because there is no mechanism to actually dispose of this ghost gear. So this ghost gear also goes and settles into different habitats, and it's a huge challenge for all the marine diversity, including birds, fishes, turtles, crabs. They get entangled into that, and the weight of the body increases if it is a big net, or they get like bigger cuts through if that is some anchor or anything. So this kind of problem is very persistent in marine ecosystem. And now the third part of it, which is more detrimental because it's not visible, is microplastic. Because the plastic, even the fragment which we are seeing today, is they will degrade over time and they'll form into smaller and smaller fragments, converting into microplastics. So that also is found in many organisms, and dugong are no different for that. So every marine organism is kind of ingesting plastic in some or the other way and falling prey to it. So there is urgent need of actually having mitigation measures for mitigating all these threats for all the species out there in the sea.
Thank you. Mansi, you have any questions?
Yes, thank you so much for this wonderful session, and warm greetings to everyone from the House of W for W, I must say. And Jyoti already mentioned I'm going to ask difficult questions, which I am not today. I am very relaxed, and thanks for starting series 2, Jyoti and Nitya. Looking forward to some more exciting animals from the planet other than human beings, because humans to me are no more exciting. Something which Sagar you mentioned in your wonderful slide where you were talking about that dugongs are close relatives to manatee and elephants, because elephants are my favorite animals. So I have question related to them. And the question goes here, uh, there must be some traits other than they being mammals. I'm sure there are more traits, and would you like to highlight them a little bit more, especially if we can have another session on manatee? If you know people, please suggest us, because then we can have more resemblance. And what are the traits that you say that animals in the sea and animals on the land, they inhabit as one, as similar traits?
Yeah, thanks. That's a very interesting question. When you look at, dugongs and elephants, morphologically, you may not see a lot of difference.
Mm,
I mean, you may not see a lot of similarity. They look very different. There are a lot of differences. But then, as you know, elephants have tusks. Same is the case with dugongs. Male dugongs are
mm,
known to have tusks, which I don't know if you all noticed, but in most of the photos that I shared of dugongs, there are certain rake marks that the marks that you can see on the back of dugongs. These
mm,
usually, happen when, they have show passive aggression, and, they like the one individual actually, they, create marks on the other individual. And more than that, like, there is, apart from them being mammals, there are a lot of other traits which are very similar. Which includes like the muzzle, like how elephants have like a tusk. Dugongs also have a very strong, like a very significant muzzle. Both of them are herbivorous, and lot of traits are behavioral. So dugongs are also herd-forming animals. There will be a matriarch which will actually lead the herd, and lot of it, like example being, like strong parental care, is another behavioral trait that is shared by both dugongs as well as elephants. They have had a common ancestor, and even the digestive or
Common
the gut of.
ancestors. Wow.
Yes, yes, yes. And it is like, when you look at the entire phylogeny, it is very interesting because you have in one side, I have just mentioned elephants. You can still find relation between a dugong and an elephant, but there are golden moles, other rodents that are very similar to them. So when you look at, like an elephant, it is very closely related to a dugong. It is also very closely related to some rodent, which is, barely like, a few inches big. So the entire, it's like a very odd, like when you look at it phylogenetically, or when you actually plant the tree where, where dugongs and manatees actually bifurcated, they had a very common ancestor, and it is like, it's one of the most interesting thing I would say when you like most interesting phylogenical tree where you see like the it's very fascinating that there the resemblance morphologically visually looks very I mean there's hardly any resemblance, but when you look at mainly the traits or certain behaviors, they are very closely related than what we see or what the perception generally is.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
so Sagar,
similarly, yeah. Sorry, go ahead,
I
Jayati. Please
just
go ahead.
no no
Please go
sorry,
ahead.
I was excited. So no, I just it's since it's related to what you are saying. So you said that they form herds just like
Yes.
elephants. But
Mm.
whenever we see pictures or even the videos you showed, we always most of the time we see a mother dugong and the baby. We don't see a like large group or herd kind of thing.
So that is really like that is the sad reality that we have in India. So what has happened is when we talk to fishermen, so whatever interactions I have had, people tell stories of dugong herds. Right now, the sightings of herds are highly reduced. But in areas like I mentioned where you have the Persian Gulf or Australian waters, dugongs are still found in herds, and then the herds are huge. They seem to have a seasonal aggregation of sometimes thousand, sometimes 10,000 individuals at a very small place. No one knows why it happens, but these kind of aggregations do happen. But when you look at cases like India, where the population maybe in Andaman and Nicobar, which is my field site, it is barely like estimated to be 20 to 25, and what the number could be is less than 100 animals. It is definitely like around 50 to 60 based on the rough estimates that we have. So we don't have enough animals to actually form herds. Another thing is historically they have been hunted. So it could also be like a strategy wherein like when they are in a herd, it is easy to target. There are certain areas where, I have seen multiple individuals, maybe just a kilometer apart from each other. They come to the same area, they forage, but then, they don't forage together because sometimes, herds can be easily targeted. And after talking to a lot of fishermen, which were earlier hunters of the animal, like, 20, 30, or even 40 years back, they tell that, one of the hunting strategies or, even tribal hunting strategies, especially of, the isolated tribes in the Andaman, they would only target herds rather than an individual animal. So maybe to like this is just a personal thing based on whatever interactions I have had. Because in certain areas, there are still animals, but they're not forming herd because herd might be easy to target. And but apart from that, dugongs also have another behavior which is called as laking, wherein during the mating phase, they are still known to form, the males try to display the fight off, and they attract females, and a congregation happens. So we have records of this still happening, but a normal herd wherein a lot of foraging happens, that is rare. The maximum I have seen as a part of my drone videos is 3 animals together, but not more than that. And it was not even like a herd because later I saw the same individuals, and then, the mother and calf went separately, and the other individual, which was most likely a female, went on her differently. So yeah, it is very interesting, and it is really a good question. But what is there is we don't have enough data again to strongly give an answer to this. And dugongs again are very long-lived creatures, like they live up to 70 years. So whatever time span that we have surveyed is barely like not even like 1%. minuscule when it comes to the lifespan of the animal. So getting insights on the behavior again becomes very tricky. So yeah.
May I ask another question to Chinmaya? And again, it is related to the species. You had us a very interesting slide on mermaids umbrella where you talked about keystone species, umbrella species, flagship species, talking about dugongs. But before that, you were presenting something very interesting about seagrass. So my question is on, it's like a chicken and egg, and also we know that aquatic flora and fauna have to coexist. Having said that, you are one of the rare biodiversity specialists I am meeting who is working on both flora and fauna. So now, given a situation in a country where we are always short of money or funding for research and biodiversity, uh, if we have to put money on dugongs, or do we put money on seagrass, or how is that working in the country? Who is saving what, and where is the money flowing? Is it flowing in the seagrass, or is it flowing for the dugongs? Where is it going, or is it not flowing at all? It's a dry land in the underneath the sea.
So fortunately for us, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has been extremely supportive, and the
Mhm.
money is flowing. So, and it's fortunately flowing with both. It's also
Okay,
dugongs
wonderful
and
to know
also
that.
seagrasses because they are not separate. Okay, it's
Hmm.
dugongs cannot live without seagrasses. Seagrasses do thrive without dugongs, definitely. But then the attention, it's like giving money to tiger and then and like
Clear
having
the
protected
forest.
some forests. It's like that. It's the same, exact same thing. That's what happens. So right now the seagrass meadow focus, like the research in seagrass meadow, is focused in the areas where dugongs are present because it goes hand in hand.
Okay.
But there are other species like green turtles, which also give the similar importance to seagrasses, where also money is flowing in. So, right now, these species are getting a lot of attention. In terms of the whole conservation regime of India, we are actually slowly moving away from species focused conservation to actually landscape or habitat focused conservation,
Nice.
which is a very good thing because till now on land also we were looking at either leopards or tigers or elephants or gores or whatever, one species in silo. But
Hmm.
right now when we are understanding that everything is connected with each other, the actual focus of the conservation is getting shifted to a habitat specific or ecosystem specific focus, which is great because then every species kind of gets protection in terms of conservation measures also and in terms of dugongs also. So for example, that I wanted to bring it up from a long time was the Dugong Conservation Reserve. So we wrote a letter to Tamil Nadu Ministry of Environment and Science in 2019 that we are getting so many dugong sightings from North Palk Bay, and it's also a very important fishing grounds because there is a lot of seagrasses, and that with a small 1.5 page proposal that this is a very important area, and the Tamil Nadu government actually took it up after a Madurai High Court announcement that this region should be declared as a Dugong Conservation Reserve, and now it is declared in 2022. It's a protected area now, and as soon as it got protected status of a protected area, a lot of research agencies, a lot of NGOs just started work within. It's just 3 years. Within 3 years, it's so popular now that the you name it that somebody is working on this and you will find someone. So the focus is getting shifted, which I'm very grateful for. And marine biology, in terms of generally biodiversity conservation, is getting more focus nowadays, which is a good thing for India because we have so huge coastline, and which requires immediate attention in terms of ecosystem, not only fisheries, which was happening for a long time. So yeah, it's a positive environment right now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chinmay and Sagar. And probably, Jayati, this is a lead for you for future sessions. I am always intrigued where should this coastal area, marine ecology fall in which ministry? Because as we hear from Chinmaya, policy matters. I mean, how leaders or the ministry or department are thinking. And I am always questioning why sea if it is water? mangroves if it is water, why it is in Ministry of Environment, and what is Ministry of Jal Shakti doing about them. Jayati, this is a lead for you. Over to you, Nitya, and thank you so much both of the speakers.
Mansi, actually, we have a question from
Yes, I see.
Siddhi in
Yeah.
the chat box. Can we quickly take that question?
Sure. Please go
Yeah.
ahead.
So Siddhi, would you
Your
like to
sessions can
ask?
flow for hours.
I know. Sorry for that, but they're so interesting that I think, yeah, Siddhi, would you like to ask, or should I read your question?
Sure, I would like to ask.
Yeah, please.
Just
Go ahead.
wanted to know, do group marine mammals like dugongs or other mammals like dolphins, so do they have hierarchical systems within their herds or pods like terrestrial mammals? And are there any other interesting interactions like helping other females to raise their young ones?
Sagar, do
Yeah,
you
yeah,
want
yeah.
to?
Yeah, sure. So yes, I mean, there is, so in terms of like specifically to dugongs, there is some research based on the hierarchical system. But then there is not much that we know of. Like, there are a lot of unknowns than the knowns. And that is something that is very interesting. And that is something, the pod structure of some, like how a group actually, like how a group actually functions is something that I would like to look into in future. But then most of the studies that have been done on this are mainly from Australia, where they know certain, like, even something like, I'm just initially talking about dugongs. So with respect to dugongs, what happens is some of the herds are temporary, while, some are like there are studies on certain herds which, are there for a longer term. So that makes, like given, in different areas, again, the results of the research that has been done is very vivid. So I'm not very sure about exactly, how the hierarchical system works, especially in a species like dugongs. But then a lot of research has been done when it comes to other marine mammals like dolphins, wherein, there are pods, like in terms of, orcas or killer whales that we have. There is a lot of research that has been done wherein, there are certain individuals that are transient, that they actually roam all across, whereas the females actually form herds wherein they do share a lot of responsibility of raising the calves. So usually what has been observed, especially in case of many cetaceans, is whenever a female, or whenever an adult female is raising a calf, so there is a lot of kinship that is seen, wherein the calf usually socializes a lot with one of the kins of the mother. So usually that is something that has been documented a lot, especially in species like orcas. And there is a lot of foster care as well. Whenever the female actually goes out for hunting, the calf actually goes to a very a close relative, or a very, like, a family member, or some, a close relative of the species, wherein the mother can actually take turns in foraging or other activities. And what has also been seen is, if by chance, like, or by accident, if there is, like, the mother dies in certain cases, then there is also something like adoption, wherein the kin actually takes care of the calf as its own. So a lot of interesting things have been reported, but most of this research has happened in developed countries, and there is a lot that is unknown, especially here in Indian scenarios, wherein we don't know a lot about, lot about the ecology, or the behavior of the species, especially when it comes to things like, the pod dynamics and hierarchy within it.
Thank you.
And if we can take one more, then Prakash has also raised his hand. Mr. Prakash, you are muted. Could you please unmute?
Yes, is it audible?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So thank you, Chinmaya, and thank you, Sagar, for the wonderful presentation. And maybe I have a curious question, like, is it sea turtles are acting as a competitor for dugongs, especially in utilizing the seagrass habitat? Because in Lakshadweep, you don't have dugongs, but you have turtles. And Palk Bay, you have less turtles, but more dugongs. and I don't know the case in Gulf of Kutch or Andaman. So question is for both Chinmaya and Sagar, and yeah,
Thank you, Dr. Prakash, for that interesting question. So they do compete for herbivory, and there are papers out there, but there are different mechanisms of feeding for dugongs and sea turtles. So sea turtles actually prefer leaves which can be chopped off because they have beak. So they are preferring different kinds of seagrasses than dugongs, and that's how niche partitioning might be happening. I'm just saying might be happening because I don't have the evidence for that. But they do interact with each other, and they have similar feeding grounds. So seagrasses, as you know, and you are one of the seagrass experts of the country, so you know that seagrasses are mixed and mono meadows also. So in Palk Bay area, we have a lot of mixed meadows where turtles are seen feeding. There are a lot of turtles in Palk Bay, at least from which where they are getting entangled from fishing nets and get rescued on almost a daily basis, and forest departments are also giving certain compensations for that. There is also one green turtle that was tagged in Lakshadweep, which traveled to Gulf of Mannar and Park Bay. So they might have these feeding grounds across this area, and green turtles being very long distance travelers, they explore different places for their feeding and breeding biology, but dugong might be restricted in at least Indian population at certain places. So there is competition, but there is not a detrimental competition. In case of Lakshadweep, the dugongs were thought to be hunted out. So there is not a role of green turtles in wiping them out. So it's a
yeah,
anthropogenic
yeah,
pressure that
yeah.
has done this damage.
Um,
So,
okay, yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mansi, Dr. Jayati, and Nitya for the presentation.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
So, yeah, actually, I think all of us have many more questions, but I think it's already 6:26, and Mansi is looking at us. So we should now like move forward and have closing remarks. So, Nitya, please,
Yeah.
over to you. Thank you.
Thank you to our speakers for shedding light on the vital yet often overlooked marine ecosystems that support dugongs and many other species. Today's discussion reminded us that dugongs are just not a gentle marine species, mammal, but it's an indicator species, a keystone species, and it is a balance. It's a keystone to balance the ocean food web. So let's today's session not end just as an awareness, but with a commitment to protect what lies beneath the waves. So, thank you all for joining us, and let's continue to be the voice for the ocean. We thank you for your support and encouragement to make the water conversations meaningful. We shall continue with the Wednesdays for Water sessions with Wednesdays to come up. Do check our social media accounts for the further events and regular updates. Thank you.
Mansi, do you have any announcements?
Yes, I will do the announcement. Thank you so much, Nitya and Jyoti, for taking responsibility of the session. I think I always enjoy when I have to just listen. And thanks, Chinmay and Sagar, once again. But most importantly, thanks all the participants who have been here. And deep gratitude to all of you as we inch closer to 400 sessions, making us among the longest water conversation ever taken place. And all our conversations are available online as a open access repository. And in continuation, next week we go on site, so no online sessions next week. The week after, Wednesdays for Water is on August 6th, and we are discussing harnessing nature through nature-based solutions in securing our ecological future. And that's on August 6th at 5 p.m. This is also part of nature-based solution series, just like the biodiversity series. So we are trying to make series so that we can compile with some kind of manuscript. The week after, we have Dr. Jayati also on Monday, Munching and Musing with Women for Water, where we try to acknowledge and appreciate women's contribution in the water sector. And that is on August 4 at 5 p.m. IST. All our sessions are at 5 p.m. IST. Do keep checking our updates so that you know where are we and what are we doing about water. Stay tuned and do keep the conversation flowing about water, because we believe at W4W, water conversations are crucial for water conservation. Please take care and we see you soon. Bye bye.